for the cockpit. They then went and detained him. While they were restraining him, they called police. The police were on that plane in 2 minutes. Now, here's what we understand. This young man, 22 years old, a student pilot, being held right now at the Brevard County Jail. He has not been charged with anything. The FBI is currently involved, working with local authorities. He is from Trinidad, coming to the United States through Canada. He did have a Florida driver's license, they are saying. We do not yet know his name. But also, while all of this is going on, they are searching his vehicle. They're using a robot to go in and search. And at this point, though, the airport is open.
Okay.
But for that search and rescue.
Maintenance workers to detain.
No question. We don't know his motives, but in the worst case scenario, could be an enormous disaster averted there and very narrowly. Gene Casares, thanks very much. Well, now, the war on opioids. The Senate just passed a bill to fight the epidemic. The legislation would increase punishment for fentanyl distribution and trafficking, give the FDA authority on packaging, push for research on non-addictive painkillers, and provide better access to treatment. Last year, 72,000 Americans, I'm reading that right, 72,000 Americans died from drug overdoses, many involving opioids, this according to the CDC. Joining us now is Beth Mason. She's the author of what is a really powerful book, Dope Sick, Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America. I read this book. It was riveting and daunting and a little depressing, frankly, about the scope of the crisis. Beth, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Before I get to how you wrote this book, how you tell the story of really this addiction crisis in the country, I want to ask you for your review, in effect, of this legislation that's been passed. Based on what you see in there, will that make a difference?
It's just not enough. I'm sorry to say. It's like sticking a finger in the dike when the wall of water is rushing over you. Experts believe it's going to take tens of billions over the next decade. It's going to take, more importantly, a real system in place so that our medical care system treats this opioid use disorder as the disease we all give lip service to and say that it is, so that when you overdose and go to the hospital, you are then immediately taken into treatment just as you would be if you had a heart attack and showed up at the ER. There are just so many things we're not doing.
One thing that struck me from the book is how many people, organizations, businesses share some responsibility for this, incentivizing doctors to overprescribe, the enormous profit motive from the companies who make these kinds of opioids, overprescription, etc. It just strikes me that you need truly a comprehensive response to address all of those issues to truly make a difference. I mean, this is tens of thousands of Americans dying every year.
Right, and we've been in this crisis since the mid to late 90s when pain as a fifth vital sign was being pushed. And in our country, with the FDA's approval, Purdue Pharma launched this new drug and sent an army of reps out to tell doctors that it wasn't addictive. The FDA allowed them to make this squishy claim that it was only addictive in less than 1% of cases. And that is really what's led us to this moment, how they flipped the narrative that we knew for 100 years that opioids were addictive, because we had a crisis after the Civil War. We flipped the narrative in the late 90s and we allowed industry to tell us this was no longer the case. And of course, billions of dollars created, and that's what it's going to take literally to get us out of this.
And how many
dollars of treatment?
Yes, and how many lives lost? I mean, Jim and I both feel incredibly passionate about keeping a spotlight on this. We've been in the field reporting on this. When I was in Ohio doing extensive reporting on this, I spent a lot of time with a cheerleader, a high school cheerleader who had been addicted to heroin because she started on pills and it became heroin since she was 15 years old. Family who lost their son, this amazing baseball player. I mean, this hits every single type of family, every single type of neighborhood. No one is immune, and people are talking about that, the lost generation, right? I mean, I wonder if you say this legislation doesn't go far enough, and we'll see if it passes the House and is signed into law. What is the number one thing from all your reporting on the ground that can be done now? That the lawmakers we pay to protect us in this country and to pass legislation that's needed, what can they do? Number one thing.
Well, we have 2.6 1.6 million people addicted. And no matter if you go ahead and stop the prescribing, which they're doing things like that, they're working on the interdiction of fentanyl, which is a good thing, we still have all these people out there who are basically resigning to death. We know, based on the new statistics that you just cited from the CDC, that a few New England states that have put these measures, such as MAT, medication-assisted treatment, if you go to the ER, then you're immediately referred to treatment. You're not waiting 3 weeks as you are in the city where I live in Virginia. Right. We know that harm reduction measures like syringe exchange programs that not only allow to get those dirty needles off the streets where our kids are walking past them on the way to school, but also referring to hepatitis C testing and treatment, and eventually, because so many of these addicted people are living homeless and they don't have relationships with healthcare institutions, eventually creating relationships at these low barrier places and getting them into treatment. That's what it's going to take.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you for what you're doing. We will have you back, but I do need to hop to some very important breaking news right now. The FBI is assisting with an active shooter situation in Harford County, Maryland. Joe Johns has more. Joe.
Poppy, we know very little right now, but what we do know is that there are reports coming in out of Aberdeen, Maryland, of a shooting involving multiple victims. This is, we're told, at a Rite Aid distribution support facility there. We're also told that early indications are law enforcement has secured the scene, not precise what that means right now. The initial reports we have at this stage, and of course in breaking news things can change at any time, is that 5 individuals are reported shot, 3 reported dead. These are very early reports, of course. That is essentially what we know. It's a distribution facility for Rite Aid. 5 shot, 3 dead. About 1,000 people work there. We're told it's secured by police. Back to you.
Joe, thank you for the reporting. Of course, we'll stay all over this. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Poppy Harlow.
And I'm Jim Shudo at this hour with Kate Baldwin. Starts right now.
Hello everyone, I'm Kate Baldwin. A serious ultimatum and the clock is ticking. Christine Blasey Ford now has just 23 hours to decide. Will she sit before the Senate Judiciary Committee and answer questions about her sexual assault accusation against President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court? Republican chairman of the committee, Senator Chuck Grassley, has given her legal team until 10 a.m. tomorrow to decide whether she'll appear at the hearing to speak in public about what she has until now only spoken to the Washington Post and her member of Congress about. Claims that over 30 years ago, Brett Kavanaugh pinned her down and tried to undress her and assault her when they were both teenagers. Ford's attorney has called for the FBI to investigate her claims before any hearing takes place. Grassley, though, has dismissed that idea, saying he's offered her the option to testify in public, of course, but also in private. Ford's attorney, Lisa Banks, has responded to the committee this way. Quote, the committee's stated plan to move forward with a hearing that has only 2 witnesses is not a fair or good faith investigation. The rush to a hearing is unnecessary and contrary to the committee discovering the truth. So, what now? Sina's Maharaj is on Capitol Hill following all of the very latest. Monty, where do things stand? And I guess I have to say, at this very moment, because things keep changing.
Things keep changing, and one notable thing from that statement from Ford's attorney last night is they did not close the door to testifying on Monday. That is the expectation on Capitol Hill. It's still unclear if she will in fact testify. That's something that appears to still be on the table. So despite this back and forth, despite the concerns and criticism from the Democrats and from Ford's camp, there's still a possibility that that Monday hearing will go forward. Of course, Chuck Grassley setting a deadline by tomorrow morning to hear from Ford or her attorneys about whether or not that hearing will in fact take place. Now, this comes as Republicans are feeling better about the Kavanaugh nomination if she were not to testify, in large part because some of the Republican senators who have been concerned about these allegations want to hear from Ford herself in this testimony. They're not relying on that Washington Post report in order to make their own decisions. They want to hear her under oath, including Senator Susan Collins of Maine, one of the key Republican votes who will determine whether or not Kavanaugh gets this lifetime seat. Yesterday, she raised some significant concerns about the fact that Ford may not testify, and at the same time, on Capitol Hill today, Kate, you're seeing pictures right now of protesters outside of Bob Corker's office, another key vote. And outside of Senator Collins' office, which is right next door to Bob Corker's office, about roughly 24 anti-Kavanaugh protesters just got arrested, screaming, "Vote no" on Kavanaugh, and "We believe the women." Collins too, facing those same protesters. But of course, the Senate is on recess for the rest of the week. The senators are not there. The aides are fielding this kind of pressure, but it just shows how much pressure there is from folks who do oppose this nomination and scrutiny that these senators are facing, which will only intensify if Ford does agree to testify on Monday, Kate.
Yeah. All right, Manu, thank you so much. So as for Brett Kavanaugh, he's preparing as if this hearing is a go. He arrived this morning at the White House for a fourth straight day, and CNN has learned that he's continuing with practice sessions to prepare for possible questioning from lawmakers. Let's get over to the White House. CNN's Caitlin Collins is there. So Caitlin, what is the word there this morning?
Well, Kate, we saw Judge Kavanaugh arrive here a little over an hour ago. He had a bag and he was with an aide, and we saw him walk into the executive office building right next door to the West Wing, and that's where he's been held up for 4 days straight, speaking with aides on his confirmation team, communications aides here at the White House, and really talking about his dating life, his teenage years, detailing everything he thinks that he could imagine or remember or recall, anything that could possibly relate to this allegation that has come and could possibly disrupt his confirmation. And that is all ahead of what could be a testimony on Monday. The White House is still planning on going forward with that, planning like he is going to testify, even though, of course, as Manu just said, it is still an open question about whether Christine Blasey Ford is going to show up. However, the White House wants to be prepared in case she changes her mind. If she does decide to come forward and testify without an FBI investigation. So that is why they've been prepping with Brett Kavanaugh for the last few days here. But Kate, something has shifted here in the White House since Sunday when that interview with her was first published, and aides feel like they've really gotten the upper hand again here because they felt like they had lost it for a while. They were worried that if she came forward, and she made a pretty convincing argument on Monday, that it could sway the votes of people like Senator Susan Collins. But now with what this call for the FBI investigation beforehand, a lot of people are seeing that as a delay tactic. The aides here in the White House are pouncing on that, really trying to get that out there and show that, and saying that essentially they've given this woman a chance to come forward and tell her story. But right now, Kate, the feeling inside the White House is they are pretty confident that Kavanaugh will be confirmed as the next Supreme Court justice.
All right, Caitlin, your eyes and ears on the ground there at the White House. Let us know if anything moves around over there. Joining me right now to discuss this moment, where they are right now, Ron Brownstein, CNN senior political analyst and senior editor for The Atlantic, Michael Shears, CNN political analyst and White House correspondent for The New York Times, and Jackie Kucinich is a CNN political analyst and Washington bureau chief at The Daily Beast. Jackie, we heard from both Manu and Caitlin on kind of the state of play. What's your gut right now? Is this hearing going to happen or not?
Kate, I wouldn't venture to guess because there are so many factors here. Professor Ford really has an enormous decision on her hands because this isn't, for a lot of people, even about her anymore. It's about, the Me Too movement. It's about someone standing up for themselves. And frankly, for Republicans, should she appear, the political risk actually gets a lot higher, frankly, because they will